we got a good crowd. I think we was hoping for 30, and we definitely got more than that. So
Yes, we do.
I want to mention a few dignitaries. We got the Commissioner DeWitt Jackson here tonight. I appreciate him coming, and Police Chief Charles Sanders, and Councilman Braden. Y'all come in. Come on in. We got some room up here. A lot of you probably don't know much about the ACE program. I didn't know anything about it when the application was submitted, but we've gotten to know more about it, especially today with the ACE team here. They've been great. We toured the town today, about a 3.5-hour tour. We looked at mostly public infrastructure. We did look at some private facilities. Went by the Agri Center. The Maiden the Gap event today was a coincidence, but a good day, I think, for those folks to get to mingle with some of the county folks. And I think so far, overall, a good visit. And I think tonight will be an eye-opener about the ACE program and some of the possibilities that could come out of it. Part of that is designating a local coordinator for the program to deal with the ACE team and be sort of as a liaison with the community and the ACE team. I picked Jordan Dufexis to do that. Jordan's a Rainsville native and very energetic and fired up and ready to get started. Jordan?
You know, they call me the coordinator, but the truth is it's a glorified term. I'm actually just the project gopher. So anything you need, you can contact me, and I'll do whatever I can to help you with that. I'm very excited to be part of this. I was born in Rainsville. My grandfather, most of you know him, is the Greek on the mountain. He came over from Greece during World War II to Toronto and then to Detroit. He was there when they burned the city down with the riots. And he moved to Rainsville and he said he found paradise. And I used to roll my eyes as a child when he would say that because I couldn't wait to get out of here. And the truth is, I was gone for 7 years, and when I came back, I understood exactly what he meant. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of this and do anything I can to help this community. If you need anything, like I said, let me know, and we'll get to work on this. But I'd like to introduce the captain of the ACE team here, and it's Ben Farmer.
Thank you, George. My name is Ben Farmer. I'm the principal managing partner at Farmer Morgan Planning and Design firm that does work in North Alabama and Tennessee. I'm here because there's a lady at the University of Alabama named Nisa Miranda that has the ability to twist my arm to get me to do things. So all of the folks that are with you here tonight are donating their time and their professional skill set to assist you over the last couple of months, actually, in putting the community assessment that many of you have taken part in, and the surveys, as well as analyzing those surveys, and then doing the tour today. And they will individually draft a report that will go into the full report that we will turn into the ACE program and ultimately back to the mayor and the local coordinator. So I'm the team captain. I kind of herd the cat, so to speak, as best as I can. And then Lucas Blankenship is with the University of Alabama, and he is the co-captain. I'm going to let him get up and introduce himself, talk about what he does in the world, and then he's also going to kind of call around and find the individual team members that are scattered around the tables that you're sitting with.
Back up a little bit so I can get everybody in my peripheral view. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Lucas Blankenship, and I'm with the University of Alabama Center for Economic Development. My background, I've got approximately 10 years in community planning, economic development, and municipal planning. Ironically enough, I'm a two-time Auburn University graduate working at UA. And let me begin by trying to point out a couple of my other colleagues I have here tonight. Okay, where do we start? I'm going to start on the end.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Connie Six, she's with the University of Alabama. Would you like to go ahead and tell her a little bit about yourself?
I will. I'll be glad to. Thank you. I, too, am excited to be here. It's my first visit to Rainsville. I've always gone right at that exit, so I'm glad to go left off 59 and be here today. I'm Tommy Six. I work at the University of Alabama. I work with the Center for Business and Economic Research, and I also work with the Center for Community-Based Partnerships out of Community Affairs. My primary function is working with K-12 education initiatives. I've done that at the university for 20 years now. I'm on the advisory board with the Commerce and Information Technology for the State Department of Education, and serve on the board of Jumpstart with financial literacy programs for K-12. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm analyzing and reviewing the education part of the ACE program.
All right, Ms. Sheena Gregg.
My name is Sheena Gregg. I actually am a native of DeKalb County. My maiden name is Keyson, but I love this area. When my dad moved to the U.S. in the late 70s, one of his first singing gigs was at Front Page Deli here in Rainsville. And I work at the University of Alabama as the registered dietitian for the students, faculty, and staff in Tuscaloosa community. I also chair the state's obesity task force. We have about 200 members in that organization from different parts of the state, and I am reviewing the healthcare portion of the assessment, and I'm very excited to be here, so thank you.
All right. How about Mr. Thomas Chesney?
Thank you. I'm with Auburn University with the Economic and Community Development Institute and the Alabama Cooperative Extension System. I'm coordinator for our priority program team in economic and community development. My particular area of interest is tourism. I've been through Rainsville a number of times, and I say through on my way to Scottsboro and whatnot, so it's been interesting. I've enjoyed the day, and see, I've missed a lot on my times when I've gone through, so I've enjoyed the day.
All right, excellent. Mr. Dennis Evans and Mr. James Manasco, you guys would stand up. No, you're, by all means, you're part of this too, sir.
Yes. Well, I'm James Manasco. I'm with the Auburn University Economic Community Development Institute, and I was a two-time graduate of Auburn University with a master's in public admin and nonprofit management. And I'm from Sand Mountain. I'm from Boaz, not too far down the road. So, and I'm with ECDI. I'm kind of the boosting broadband coordinator and other odd jobs they have me do. So.
I'm originally from Louisiana, and I'm in my 39th year in community development work. I worked at LSU, and then at Georgia, and now at Auburn. So my work has carried me really around the world. I've been to every continent but Antarctica, and I want to go there. Been to a lot of different communities, and my area of expertise is leadership development within community development. So glad to be here.
Okay. Thank you, team members, and thank you all for coming tonight. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we will stick to our schedule to best as possible and respect your time. I'm going to walk through very quickly a little bit about the ACE program and what we're going to talk about tonight, and what the intentions and accomplishments are of the community assessment, as well as what the end results will be over the upcoming years. Overview of the ACE program, we're going to talk about that. We'll do an introduction, explanation of assets and areas. We've actually moved that under the breakout session, which is what the maps are laying on the tables. And then we're going to talk about the community assessment results. So the surveys that went out, that we responded from you in the community, there was written surveys as well as an online version. And I think quite a bit of you took those surveys. We're going to walk through very generally what those responses are. And I think you'll find them to be very informative. Who we are. The Alabama Communities of Excellence. I'm going to let you click these, please. Okay, sure, by all means.
And that's just the interrupt.
We are volunteers, as I talked about earlier, and partners working together to provide Alabama communities with community development programs and tools needed to ensure their long-term success. So the idea, the fundamental principle of the ACE program is planning first and then action. What we do, we provide technical assistance to selected communities in order to strengthen their long-term economic success. The comprehensive three-phase approach targets communities with populations ranging from 2,000 to 18,000. The class of 2013 going into 2014. So you're grouped with other municipalities across the state. There are various ACE teams across the state for cities in Alexander City, Elba, Fairhope, Helena, Rainsville, and Saraland. There's a three-phase approach that I talked about. The first phase is the phase we're in now. The mayor's done the application, and the selection process was completed by a group of the ACE board members that are connected with everything from Alabama Power to other strategic organizations and universities in the state. A detailed community assessment is being completed by the ACE team. That's why we're here. So in part of that assessment, you did a survey. The other part of that assessment, if we've come into Rainsville, we're talking with you, meeting with you, seeing your infrastructure, your neighborhoods, your communities, taking your ideas and developing those into recommendations. A comprehensive report about the community and recommended strategy and actions is prepared. That will be the end of phase one, and ultimately Lucas and I will come back and share that report with you at another meeting in the upcoming months. It'll be brief, I promise you. We'll try to keep it to 45 minutes, and there'll be a written version that comes out ahead of time. You'll have time to come and ask questions. Phase 2, there'll be another set of folks that come in with the ACE team, so this team will be on the periphery. And there'll be strategic leadership development and strategic planning. Creation and inclusion of an ongoing leadership development program and development of strategic plans. So those two pieces. So leadership development obviously is important in moving your community forward, and then having a strategic plan and action items to do that is also important. The third phase, implementation and comprehensive planning. Addresses creation or updating if there's an existing plan, and a strategic plan implementation, which provides action items for the local government and the citizens to then begin to move forward. Also, if there's infrastructure that needs to be done, social capital programs, whatever it may be that you, the citizens, feel it's important to act on. Some people see comprehensive planning as very land use based. I think we're going to encourage that Rainsville not think about comprehensive planning in a very zoning land use base, but more about economic development in a sustainable way. That I'm going to use sustainable very loosely, not the way that you're accustomed, but as economic drivers for your community. And we can talk about that at some point if you'd like tonight. Graduation and recertification. So you've heard about the ACE program across the state. You're not the first community to go through the program. You won't be the last, and there's others that are recertified. Upon completion of all 3 phases, the community is designated an ACE community. You get an award, and I think there's leadership folks go down to Montgomery and accept that award, and it's a pretty big deal because it's a lot of hoops to go through to become a certified program. Signage for the community inclusion on the ACE website and other marketing materials. To maintain ACE designation, communities must be recertified within 3 to 5 years. So in some ways, what that recertification is about is a self-assessment from you about and a reporting of how you're doing in accomplishing those goals and objectives that you've identified in your leadership program, your strategic plan, as well as whatever your future growth plan may become. Submit semi-annual progress reports. Keep strategic plan and comprehensive plan up to date. Those are the things Jordan gets to do. He was asking a little bit more about what the burden was going to be, so to speak, in helping move the ACE program forward over the next couple of years. So there you go, Jordan. Definition of an ACE community. Leadership. Community leadership and leadership development. In planning, vision and strategic plan, and we've talked about comprehensive plan. Economic development, so I'm going through the categories. Strategy, infrastructure, organization, information and marketing, existing business programs, commercial retail business development. Next slide, please. As well as quality of life, amenities and aesthetics, education, schools, school systems, and healthcare. All of those things matter. I'd like to add connectivity to one of those under quality of life in relation to transportation in your neighborhoods and your business district. Okay, who you have. You've had a second to go through and hear each one of the team members stand up. Here's kind of who they are in writing and who they're with, and I hope you'll take a minute to meet them at some point a little farther this evening if you're a particular person of interest. I'm not going to walk through all of them again, but very quickly, Dennis Evans, Lucas Blankenship, myself, Miss Tommy is here, Sheena is here, and Tom. Okay, next slide, please. The general community assessment, the paper and online versions, I've talked about that. So there's approximately 120 responses. That's about 2.4%. That's not bad. And it gives you a pretty good snapshot of the interest that's there as well as the comments. There's a whole series of survey questions I think you'll find interesting what people think about Rainsville from a local level and what they might like to see in the future. Purpose of the survey, to create a snapshot of the community based on the opinions and perception of the community. Help the ACE team understand what the community knows. And then the survey highlights the results. All right. Dennis is going to come up and talk about leadership development based on the survey.
I would say first off that Rainsville reminds me of some communities I visited in Brazil. They were new because they were from the rainforest and they were created in the 70s. Rainsville is a new city in the 50s and 60s. And I see an enthusiasm of a new city that you don't see in older cities, that you don't have any baggage. You're the crossroads of Sand Mountain, and here you are. I think that's wonderful, and there's an energy in a new community that you don't see in a mature one. So I think that's awesome. And one scholar said, you never hear somebody say, this place has a real sense of city, but this place has a real sense of community. You can see that. You can see that in every face that we have met today. Somebody built this town not too long ago, and then you had to rebuild a good bit of it after after April 27th. And I really I think the memorial is awesome. I'm well aware of that date because the day before I had my own crisis. My eldest son died, and so the storm and everything was a great blur to me. And we were thankful that we could get a funeral home for my son, because that was a chaotic thing after the tornadoes. It's just burying everything. But you've built and you've rebuilt in a sense. So that's awesome. And for the first question, it's not any surprise that there is overwhelming feeling of does the community have energetic leaders? And said yes. You have young leaders, new city council, and a vast majority of people said yes. We have energetic leaders that are working and that have an understanding of community development. This is I think 5K race from Freedom Fest or something like that. But you've got a lot of things going on in the city. Next slide. Are these leaders fully committed to working together as a team? And the feeling of the people is overwhelmingly yes. Yes, they are. Next slide. The perception is on the question, does the local government contribute to local economic development organizations' annual budget? I don't know whether you do or not, but the perception is that you do. And an overwhelming majority feel that way. Next slide. Does the local government collaborate with the county government, neighboring municipalities, and other organizations? And overwhelming majority say, yes, we are. Next slide. And the question, it gets more specific, do the public and private sectors work together? And the overwhelming majority said, yes. You feel very positive in the city. And I think just the fact that you had so many responses to the survey was awesome. Awesome. Because I've been in communities where we didn't have that statistic, so you've got a lot happening here. Next slide. The question is more specific. Are the public and private sectors working together on specific initiatives? That percentage gets lower because people feel good generally, but then when it talks about specific initiatives, they're not so sure. But keep in mind, this is a new city council, and I saw the paper today, Fort Payne paper said, acknowledging just finishing 1 year, and at my age, 1 year is nothing. So you got the score's not in yet on where the city is in terms of that. So then this one is asking, does the community currently have an active project-based leadership development program? And then it asks, do employees encourage people to other? This is a very mixed bag because I don't think you have an organized project leadership development program. I believe that you had one, Leadership DeKalb County, that's now defunct. But you need to know that that is a requirement of the A.C.E program to, by the time that you're finished with a 3-year program, that you have some kind of organized project-based leadership development program. You need to begin to think about, could Rainsville have it alone, or do you want to partner maybe perhaps with Fort Payne in reestablishing the DeKalb County leadership program, whatever. We at Auburn can certainly help you look at options regarding the leadership program, but it can only help and improve the city. And my big thing is, a lot of people think, leader, I'm not a leader, I'm just out there working. Well, that is leadership. People after the storm that went and helped somebody, that's leadership. Leadership is going out there and doing what you got to do. The leader's not just the one that's elected or the appointed, but the people that are making a difference in the community. And so that's the purpose of those leadership programs, to develop particularly the emerging leader that we all need to do. So, and we want to turn to Lucas Blankenship now.
few months back when Ben and I first visited Rainsville, it looked like a very familiar scene. When I was working with the Northwest Alabama Council of Local Governments, I was a planner working with the towns of Hackleburg, Alabama, and Phil Campbell. That very same day, they were struck by an F5 tornado, much like you guys. And we were on the ground down there the very next day. So I understand where you're coming from in that regard. Ben? Okay. When we're talking about our neighborhoods here in Rainsville, and we're looking at the assessment feedback that you guys gave us, we asked the question, are residential areas within the community well maintained? And riding around today, and my cohorts and I, we all were unanimous in thinking that Rainsville is a very clean little town. You guys take care of what you have. And that's good. That's great. Okay, and it was also asked, are there locations of substandard or distressed housing in the community? I'm going to agree with your assessment. When visiting the neighborhoods within the area, I didn't see areas of focused deterioration or dilapidation. That's great. I applaud you because that is very, very rare. Also, pertaining to your neighborhoods, can the community infrastructure support residential growth? You guys have an opportunity here. You have a lot of infill space. You take care of what you have already developed, and from my understanding, talking with people from within the community, if a structure becomes dilapidated or in need of repair, you guys fix it, or you go back and you rebuild in that area. You're not sprawling like, say, these little cities that pop up outside of Atlanta. You're taking care of your property within your city bounds. Also, does the community have public housing or subsidized housing options? If I'm not mistaken, you guys have approximately 4 or 5 different little areas within the city. So you're taking care of your high-end living conditions, and you're also taking care of those that need a little help. Next slide. Going on to transportation. You guys also remind me a lot of my home area of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Muscle Shoals began as a marker drawing on a map by Governor George Wallace that completely went around Tuscumbia and Sheffield, Alabama into Florence, Highway 1343. And the commercial growth just kind of built up along that corridor. I see a lot of that in this area right here. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You can capitalize on that. So the question here, going back into your infrastructure, are the city streets well maintained, including paving and marking? Your entranceways are great, from my understanding, looking at them, actually driving and traveling them. Your north-south corridor and your east-west, they're in good shape compared to a lot of communities that I have visited in the past doing this. Also, well, once again, you do have welcome signage. Now, granted, I understand that part of your signage was destroyed in the storm, but that's something we can, build towards, rectifying later on. Okay, Ben? Are the city entrances considered attractive? I would say so, from my opinion. I'm sure the rest of my colleagues would as well. You guys overwhelmingly think so. Does the city maintain their existing right-of-ways? I didn't notice any high grass, litter, anything like that. Once again, yes, by all means. Are traffic controls and street lighting adequate? Your survey assessment said 75% of you said yes. 21% of you said no. I'm actually going to have to go up here tonight and take a look at it myself. Does the city offer public transportation? I see that most of you said no in regard to this. 20% of you were unsure, 11% yes, and 1 not applicable. I am aware of the Top of Alabama Regional Council. It's like a senior citizen busing kind of program. That is, I'm not sure how strong they are within the community, but I know they exist. If you guys are having some issues with that, you might want to contact them in order to see if they can help you out a little bit more, or just to make you aware of their services. Does your community have bicycle lanes or bicycle facilities? I'm going to agree with you. I didn't see any bike lanes out there, and it's not very common within the state unless you get to some of the more metro areas like Birmingham or, well, I won't even say Montgomery because they don't have them. Huntsville, for instance, has a lot, and Mobile. Does your community have a network of sidewalks that interconnect neighborhoods with commercial areas, schools, or parks? you're about a 50-50 split right there. I noticed some sidewalks in there, but in my opinion, as a municipal planner, I see some opportunities right there where we could grow and work towards alleviating some of those issues by building new connectivity, getting these residential neighborhoods more connected, foot traffic with the commercial areas within town. Next slide. Building and facilities. Are all the municipal buildings well maintained and considered adequate? Most of you said yes right here, 84%. From my assessment and talking with the others that were here today, everything's top notch. It's well maintained, it's clean. Your fire trucks are in great shape, your fire department, your city hall facility looks like it's in very good shape. The parks are well maintained. I'm proud of you for that. It's something to be proud of. Our civic buildings, well maintained. Once again, like I said, yes, by all means. Is there a local or regional airport that serves the community? I'm aware that you guys have an airport over toward Fort Payne, correct? Approximately 8 to 10 miles from here? Okay. And are municipal services adequate to meet the needs of the community? 83% of you guys said yes. That's an overwhelming nod of improvement. Ben. Also, does the community have a variety of recreational facilities? I'm going to once again applaud you for that. The mini park, pocket park, pool, volleyball courts, basketball courts, and all that. They're in excellent shape. I like how they're all right there with each other, kind of focusing in that one area. Your ball fields out on the east side of town look good. Granted, we could probably have more of them, but what you have is great shape. It's all about need and what you guys want. Are there greenways or trails in the community? 53% of you guys said no. About a quarter of you said yes. That building bike paths, hiking trails, walking trails, more infrastructure such as that, we can address that and show you avenues where you can pursue funding in order to go after those kind of things if that's what you want to do. Ben? Does the community have a senior center? We toured it today. Looked quite well. They were down there making repairs to it. My understanding is it's quite busy. Is there a community pool or splash pad? I noted the pool down behind City Hall. You guys don't have a splash pad, but there are mechanisms through the state, LWCF and RTP programs that you can go after one of those if you would like. And I will now turn this back over to Mr. Ben Farmer.
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about planning, what the survey results were on planning, and I'll be brief. Can everyone hear me okay? We had an offering for a microphone and I turned it down, so I hope that wasn't a mistake. Okay, in relation to municipal planning efforts, does your community have a widely shared vision for the future? The majority of you say you do. Have key leaders participated in a visioning process? 49% said yes. So what we want to do is find out more about that process and encourage you to put that vision in writing. And I think you'll have opportunities to do that in the near future. Does your community have a strategic plan? 23% said yes. Majority of you said you weren't sure. Next slide, please. Comprehensive planning. Does your community have a citywide master plan or comprehensive plan? 16% said yes. The majority of you were unsure, so you weren't familiar if there was that document in place. And that's for the size community, it's probably very reasonable. And it sounds like there may be an opportunity collectively for all of you to develop that vision in the future. If not, is your community willing to commit financial resources to prepare one? That means you're going to pay fancy consultants like myself to come in and do one for you and help you. And you were unsure. That's not a good sign. Next slide, please. Does the community have a current economic development plan that includes the community's shared vision and is fully endorsed by community leaders involved with economic development? I think the answer is yes, and I think you do have it. 72% said yes. I know we met some folks with your Economic Development Authority today out at the Agribusiness Center, and they're very, very proactive in what they're doing in relation to industrial development and job creation. Next slide, please. Does the community have a Main Street program promoting downtown Central Business District development, marketing, events. I think the Chamber takes on a lot of this role. It may not traditionally be a Main Street program, or I may be proven wrong in a minute. The majority of you said, 62% said yes, you have that. So the others either were unsure or the answer was no. Is the Chamber of Commerce active in economic development, business, industrial recruiting, or marketing of the community? 54% said yes. 10% said no. Next slide, please. Does the community maintain a current website, accurate and up-to-date information about the community? I know the city has one, and it's up to date. 25% said yes. 4% said no. Now keep in mind, a lot of you are on the web taking this. You could have checked. Next slide, please. Does the community have the potential to grow? 96% said yes. You're very positive about your future opportunities and whatever grow may mean. Is there strong support for economic growth? 83% said yes. So apparently when you look to your left and you look to your right, the majority of you feel that you have a strong opportunity for economic growth in the future. Next slide, please. Wait, we're already there. Is the labor force sufficient to support significant economic growth? When you look to your left and you look to your right, do you feel like your comrades and fellow citizens can go to work or are already working? 89% of you felt that you could. So the majority. Can local schools absorb additional students without new buildings or overcrowding? That's a really very specific question, but just kind of what the people taking the survey said, 53% felt like you could. The other 39% were unsure, and 9% said no. So somewhere there's some educators that realize that you may need some expansion, or there's a sense that as you're continuing to grow that your facilities will need to meet additional demand. Arts and culture. I don't know how strong this conversation is in Rainsville, but I think it's one worthy of note. Is there a nonprofit organization or department in the city county whose mission it is to support and encourage the community's artistic resources? And I'd like to hear some of those during the mapping session tonight, because I know they're out there, but it's not being portrayed very well, or we're not picking up on it. Let's put it that way. 21% said yes, there is such an entity. Unsure was 62%. Next slide, please. Is there an annual community festival that celebrates something unique or special about the community that everyone can participate in? The answer is yes. It is I hope I don't mess this up, the Freedom, I got that Freedom Festival? Yes. And it's back at the city park near City Hall. Next slide, please. And Tommy's going to come up and briefly talk about education. If you cannot hear us, please let us know and we'll all speak up.
I do tend to talk pretty loud. My voice carries, so do speak up if you can't hear me. Before I start, the slides on education, and you'll notice that my print is large. I did review the summary of just general comments that were also included with the surveys, and I just summarized that because I saw evidence of these opinions today in our tours. Plainview is a great school with great community support and good partnerships with business and with the Northeast Community College. It prepares our students for jobs and careers and continued education. Education is also supported with a local Christian-based private school. And I'm going to be actually working with the local coordinator and school representatives to gather some very specific school data that's reported to the State Department of Education and that sort of thing. But now we'll go over the questionnaire. Can the schools, I think somehow this got on both slides.
Yeah. It's funny
And I
how
hope,
education and planning and economics
just
and they all
overlap.
flow together.
That's right. So you, I hope it says the same thing on both slides. Okay, so we'll move to the next. Do you consider local K-12 schools to be high quality and successful? You'll see 81% indicated yes. And for those 11% that said no, I hope they'll give a little bit of input on the issues that we might need to work on addressing. Next slide. Is it well supported by residents and the private sector? 87% indicate yes. And again, the comments and the anecdotal information I heard today all support that. Are the schools well maintained? Again, unfortunately, I know the tornado did do some damage, so I know some of what you get to enjoy today the newness of it comes out of that, especially the tornado shelter. I was just blown away by that. I love that. 86% indicate yes, and everything I saw today, and I think everyone on the team would agree, the facilities are just super here. So, next slide. Is there a 2-year college or 4-year university in the area? Absolutely yes. So, do community and school, including college, university leaders, work together to address workforce needs and issues? I was a little surprised. I thought it would be higher than 70%, but I noticed 24 are unsure. That may be some community members who aren't as engaged with the school system may account for that, but I do, for example, today we saw the career opportunities for some of the high school students to go through and see at the Ag Center. So, so hopefully that 70% is good and there's a little room for improvement. Okay, next slide. I'll introduce Sheena Gregg for healthcare. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, with the healthcare questionnaire, we can actually go to the next slide. One of the first questions asked, is there a central place for people to find out about available health and social services in the community? It was interesting to see that a majority, 47%, were unsure. For those folks that said yes, possibly considering that structure near Fred's to be a central location, but then there was also about 22% of you guys that said no. When we go to our next slide here about hospitals, is there a hospital in the community? A majority of you said no. However, I will say in terms of comments, 44 of you guys said yes, and definitely with the comments that we received, recognizing the fact that there is the hospital that's in Fort Payne, approximately 8 miles away. DeKalb County Hospital is nearby. Hospital is only 8 miles away. So I saw several of those similar comments. So I think it's good to know that you're recognizing that it is in a close proximity, though it is not directly within the Rainsville city limits. When we go to other types of healthcare services, I thought these were very interesting questions. When we consider long-term care, 50 of you guys said yes, and 47 said no. There was a couple of folks that were unsure. With the community leaders that I talked to today, they had indicated that there was not necessarily long-term care facilities within the Rainsville community, but I'd like to garner some discussion with that later this evening. When it comes to dental services, an overwhelming yes, considering the fact that some of you guys had indicated to me that there is specifically a pediatric dentist in the area, as well as dentists that serve all age populations. When it comes to mental health services, 54 of you were really unsure about that. There was 30 that said yes, and then also 29 of you that said no. One thing that I do find interesting with that, with my job and role at the University of Alabama within UA School of Medicine, we actually are working towards getting in more telemedicine services. I have a colleague in my college that has actually been traveling for the past 2 years to Rainsville to do telepsychiatry. I have recognized, even just from an outsider and an insider, that DeKalb County has not always had an abundance of mental health services, and so I'm hoping that telemedicine is one way for us to bring that to the Rainsville area. But when we go overall to, are the healthcare services in the community adequate, a great majority of you guys say yes, and I just wanted to share the general comments. My family has had to use all of the above mentioned healthcare services and have been pleased and proud to have these facilities in our area. I think for the community size, I think you guys do have a lot of really great healthcare facilities, with the hospital being within even just a 10-mile radius is actually very perfect. Probably could use more community clinics for healthcare and information. And then again, for you guys that recognize that there may not be specific services within the Rainsville city limits, you did acknowledge it's within a 10-minute drive, though not directly in the community. But next up, we actually have my colleague Tom, who's going to be talking about historic preservation and tourism.
Thank you. Sometimes there's uncertainty exactly what tourism is. For that reason, and also because of all the numbers and questions we're looking at, I'd like to just take a break and share you a short story with you. This young man named Kerry, he's real active in his church, like we are here, and he was real concerned about the afterlife. Well, when he died, was he going to go to heaven? Always on his mind. Unfortunately, he found out real quick. He got in a real bad accident. Came to, and there was the pearly gates. There was St. Peter. Gave him his name, looked it up, said, yep, you're in, come on in. So he went there, he said, you're in cloud 18. Gave him a harp and sat up there in cloud 18. So he got a little bored. He said, man, I'm not really musically inclined. I'm more athletic, more outdoors. So he went and found St. Peter and said, look, can I try that other place? St. Peter really frowned. He says, you want to go to hell on purpose? He says, I'm just not into this music thing, this tranquility. Let me try it out. So I sat him down there and said, you got a 24-hour pass. Went down there, got in the elevator, the doors open. He expected heat, fire, burning, all that. There was a Robert Trent Jones golf course. The golf was there, tennis court. Man, his 24 hours were gone like that. He's back up on his cloud with his harp. And he's really going nuts. Well, finally, after he couldn't take it a couple of months, he went back to St. Peter and said, look, I got to go back to hell. St. Peter really got a frown and said, okay, you can do it, but it's permanent. He said, not a problem. He sprinted to the elevator, pushed the down button. When it opened, there was fire and brimstone, heat, suffering, all that stuff he was worried about the first time. Took him a while, but he finally found the devil, pulled on his cape, and said, Mr. Devil, where's that other hell? He said, the other hell? He said, yeah, I was down here on a 24-hour pass. The devil got a great big grin and said, huh, you have to realize, you were a tourist then, you're a resident now. Share that story because some places, I graduated in the year 2 BD in Orlando, Florida, before Disney. Orlando was a very different town in that time. It was the size that Tuscaloosa is today. A really nice place to live. Now, you can pay me to live in Orlando. Yes, the tourist attractions are nice. So what I'm saying is it can be really nice to visit, but do you really want to live there? And we can control the tourism. So with that, let's go to our numbers and things. Okay, historic preservation. Two things that historic preservation do for us. It's a sense of place. It gives us, relating back to our past. It helps be a quality of life issue, but it's also a tourism issue. It brings other people in. So the question was, do you have anything listed on one of these two registers? The National Register is the higher standard one, and then you have the Alabama. You see, it was pretty, the reason I picked this is you're pretty unsure. What's the answer? Well, I called the Alabama Historical Commission. You used to have one place on the Alabama Registry. Unfortunately, it burned down. So now you don't have one on either of them. And so I think looking at and finding out what you have would be of benefit. Excellent. Does he have a Main Street program? We already with that one, so let's go to the next one. We covered that in one of the previous ones. Then look at tourism. Just two of them looking at real quickly. You do have a website. Yes, you do. It's Rainsville, Alabama.com. And then you go to the visitors section. And you've got a lot of good information there. But you need to get that out there. And it's not easy to come up with. It's not one of the top 3 or 4 that you come up with if you Google Rainsville. So somehow we've got to get that more promoted and let people know about it. You had almost half the people didn't know if you had anything, promoting that in your community. And you have a tourism director, tourism leadership team. Chamber of Commerce, my understanding is, takes that, but again, you have almost half take the NAs and unsure, and you have exactly half. And the key in tourism, you have to let people know what you have, not just outside, but locally. And you have a great opportunity. You have a national park site, right down the road. You have a state park right down the road, and you have a pumpkin patch and things like that right here. And so what we've got to do is get the word out. And next goes back to Lucas.
Does the community have the leadership, the strategy, and all the necessary services and the sound marketing plan necessary to be successful? Approximately 48% said yes, 12% of you said no, 41% of you were unsure. But you're all here tonight. We can work on the inadequacies, and we can build on what we've already laid as a foundation. I see energy here. I see people eager to work toward a goal. We're going to define that goal, and we're going to work our way towards a greater cause here. Okay, Ben, go ahead and the next one. Is the community ready for economic and community development? I don't know about everyone else, but I know the people in this room are. Okay? We'll share you a couple quotes right here in regard to this. I believe the community is hungry for any type of growth. Our young leaders are ready to move forward. There is a great desire for our growth. Let's see here. Everyone is ready to go. We have the people, we have the leaders. We just need the direction. I think Rainsville is ready for growth, new industry. We need jobs. Let's get to work. We have the leadership, both young and old, are ready to work together to make this community the best it possibly can be. Let's try to do this, guys. That's what we're here tonight. So I'd like to have your participation when we do the breakout sessions to come around these tables. We're going to do the initial steps of that right now. We can't tell you what to do. This is your city. We want you to take the reins and move forward. So let's go.
If we can, turn on the lights, and please, and we will take about 20 minutes, and I think we're still on schedule to get you out of here at 7:30. We're going to take about 20 minutes and go through with a facilitator, answer the questions on the maps, if you would, and feel free to draw on the maps. If you're a graphic-oriented kind of person, that would be great. Take your chair that you're sitting in. If you're not at a table, pick it up, take it with you. Find a table of your liking, and let's start to work through these so we can stay on schedule, please. And I'll kind of come around for you and